Hi all, today we will discuss the summary, analysis and plot of the novel The Ice Candy Man by Bapsi Sidhwa. The novel Cracking India was first published as Ice Candy Man in 1980 by Bapsi Sidhwa. It explores the impending events that occurred during the Partition of India in 1947. It included religious intolerance that led to mass violence, killings, mutilations, rapes, dismemberments and the slaughter of infants, children, men and women alongside the displacement of many refugees, Hindus fleeing to India and Muslims fleeing to Pakistan. The plot of the novel opens with a first-person perspective of Lenny Sethi, a Parsi child who is about 4 years old when the novel begins and approximately 10 years as the novel progresses. The novel portrays the complicated and shifting political and social ramifications of the partition of India into two countries, a Hindu majority India and a Muslim majority Pakistan. Lenny and her family plan to quietly endure the partition that transforms both the countries. The novel operates as a coming-of-age novel delineating the parallel growth and formation of identity within the protagonist Lenny and the country Pakistan. Both suffer severe growing pains as Lenny's childlike vision becomes a maturing voice telling us about the violence she witnesses, the various friends who are lost, the buddies betrayed by friends and neighbors, and the terrible human cost of dividing one country into two along brutally enforced religious lives. Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians and Parsis all vie for survival. The Parsis were a minority group who first sought alliance with other ethnic groups to assist and protect them, but later resolved to remain neutral on the sidelines of the growing battle. Lenny's idyllic childhood displays the ethnic and non-secular harmony that existed in Lahore before the independence and partition of India. It mirrors the peace that precedes the slaughter of partition. This peaceful coexistence highlights the later terrors of spiritual intolerance. Through the novel Ice Candy Man, Bapsi Sidhwa unfolds the macrocosm of the war through the microcosm of Lenny's life. Bapsi Sidhwa's novel Ice Candy Man deals with the partition of India and its aftermath. This is the first novel by a woman writer from Pakistan in which she describes about the plight of the people in Lahore. The novel opens with the verses of the poet Iqbal from his poem Complaint to God. Lenny, the child narrator who is lame and helpless, is introduced. She lives on the Warriors Road and her world is limited between the Warriors Road and Jail Road. She is an introvert, a keen observer and always engrossed in her private world. We could find some autobiographical elements of Bapsi Sidhwa in the character of Lenny. Lenny's ayah, Shanta, who was 18 years old, used to take her out on a pram. Lenny observes how people are fascinated with the Hindu ayah's gorgeous body. She notices how even beggars, holy men, old people and the young men adore her for her feminine grace. Colonel Barucha is Lenny's doctor and he operates on her leg. The news of Lenny's operation brings the small Parsi community of Lahore to her home. After a month, Lenny can be taken in a stroller outside her house. She is strongly attached to her godmother, her widowed aunt, whom she calls as her electric aunt because of the clothes that she wears, and her brother Adi, whom she calls as Sissy. Adi attends school while Lenny is taught at home. Lenny is loved by her mother and her ayah, who takes care of her like a sister. Among the admirers of Shanta, Lenny's maid is an ice candy man. He is a lively chatterbox and can talk on any topic. During winters, Ice Candy Man turns into a birdman, and in the streets of Lahore, he is seen with the birds. Rich ladies give him money for these poor birds to be freed. A portion of Lenny's house is lent to the Shankars, who were a newly married couple. Shankar's wife Geeta is a good cook and a good storyteller. She is quite popular with the children. The readers are also introduced to Hari, the gardener, and Imam Deen, the cook at Lenny's house. Imam Deen is 65 years old and likes to play with children during his free time. He once takes Lenny to his village of Pir Pinto on a bicycle. There, she meets the children Rana and his sisters Khadija and Parveen. This is the village where Hindus, Sikhs and Muslims live peacefully. They have assembled under a huge sesame tree to discuss the communal riots happening in other cities like Bihar and Bengal. They feel disturbed and blame the British government for inaction. The Chowdhury of Pir Pinto assures them about the safety of everyone in the village if riots break out. Lenny goes to Mrs. Penn for her studies. Her house is next to Lenny's godmother's house on Jail Road, which is opposite to Electric Aunt's house. Aya always used to accompany Lenny. The little girl recalls the visit of Mahatma Gandhi to Lahore. Lenny goes with her mother to meet him and was quite surprised to see him. She thought of Gandhi as a mythical figure and was perturbed when he advised them all to take Enema Therapy. She fails to understand why people consider him as a saint when he appears to be a half clown and half demon to her. The month of April brings a warmer climate to Lahore, and the business of Ice Candy Man prospers. He falls in love with Aya for her blooming youth. But at the same time, he was disturbed by the developments in the nearby areas. By now, it was clear that India was going to be divided. Muslim League wants Pakistan for Muslims. Imam Deen, the cook, is worried over the news of communal riots and plans to visit his village at Pir Pinto. Lenny joins him on his trip and they visit Dera Thek Singh near the village. Dost Muhammad joins them and they enjoy the Mela and the feast. People now apprehend trouble because of the communal riots and they move to safer places. The relatives of Imam Deen moved to Lahore where they were accommodated at the servants' quarters. Military trucks arrived in Pir Pinto to evacuate the Muslims to safer places, but they were confused over leaving their home, property and harvest all of a sudden. More trouble came after the murder of the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Rogers. Riots began causing more confusion. Communal riots spread from towns to small villages like Pir Pinto. Muslims and Hindus became sworn enemies, thirsting for each other's blood. Hindus and Sikhs leave their houses behind and went to Amritsar. People hear about the division of districts into India and Pakistan through the All India radio. The Parsi community in Lahore felt safe but still worried about their future. The Muslim mob attacked the Hindu houses in Lahore. They stopped at Lenny's house and inquired about the Hindu servants, especially about Shanta, the Aya. Imam Deen tells them that she had escaped to Amritsar. But when the Ice Candy Man questions Lenny, she reveals the truth about her Aya's hiding place and she was dragged outside her house by the mob. Lenny felt remorse for her truthfulness and understands how it could cause trouble to a person. Ice Candy Man takes Shanda to Hira Mandi, a bazaar of prostitutes, and he acts as a pimp. His own mother was also a prostitute. He was also found of reciting Urdu poetry in the streets of Hira Mandi. The Muslims were attacked in the village of Pir Pinto by the Hindus, and the family of Imam Deen were in trouble, but nothing could be done to save them. The Muslim women were gang raped, children were butchered, and the men killed. The women thought of committing suicide by pouring kerosene over and also tried to hide their men and children, but they were caught and killed. Rana lost his sisters and escaped from the village. His journey of hide and seek is dealt with in detail by the author and explains the condition of a lonely child. At last, he reaches the refugee camp at Badami Bagh, where luckily he is united with his Noni Chachi and Iqbal Chacha. After the abduction of her ayah, Lenny felt lonely and remorseful. She thought herself to be guilty for the plight of ayah. She felt anger at the ice candy man for betraying her. He only saw the mutilated dead bodies of his fellow Muslim men, which changed him, and so only the Hindu in Shanta. She was dragged out of her home and raped. Lenny's godmother was quite an influential lady, and she had a network of spies all over Lahore. Soon, Lenny hears the news from one of her cousins that he saw Shanta traveling in a car dressed like an actress. Soon, godmother makes inquiries and found the whereabouts of Shanta. It is learned that she is married and she invites her husband to her house. To the shock of Lenny, she finds that it was none other than the ice candy man. He was dressed in a white muslin and recited Urdu poetry. The godmother scolds him for the brutalities he had done on Shanta, and he weeps and tells her that it is her happiness that he gives importance to now and promises to look after her well. Lenny and her godmother visit Shanta, who is now Mumtaz, the new bride of the ice candy man. He receives them and goes out to fetch tea. Shanta tells them about her plight and wanted to escape from there to Amritsar. Lenny was shocked to find her ayah sad and determines to save her at any cost. They went away from there, promising her all help to escape. Soon, a police patrol reaches Mandi Bazar and rescues the women prisoners. Shanta is taken to a rescue shelter home at Waris Street. Hearing this, like a forlorn lover fakir, the ice candy man tries to find his lady love but was badly beaten up by the Sikh sentry at the gate. But he used to place flowers over the wall of the rescue home every day and recite Urdu poems. Later, Lenny learns that Shanta was taken to Amritsar to her family. The ice candy man also crosses the Wagah border to meet the lover. The novel ends on this sad and tragic note. The novel contains a number of poignant scenes along with scenes of murder and violence. It is a work of history as it relates political events through the eyes of a child. Bapsi Sidhwa is among the important signatories in the Pakistani literary world. Being a Parsi, she is aware of her roots, past, and the Parsi community. Her concern for the Parsi community, place of women in Pakistan society, human struggle for survival, and dignity of man are major themes in her novels. Ice Candy Man deals with human emotions at play at different levels, heightened by turbulent times. Like other novelists on Partition, Sidhwa also describes the ugly and terrifying face of Partition by recollecting the traumatic and agonizing memories of those moments. The theme of interfaith marriage is at the core of Sidhwa's novel through the love relationship between the ice candy man and the Hindu ayah. On seeing his fellow Muslims massacred, the ice candy man goes mad with rage and keeps his beloved Shanta in the brothels of Hira Mandi in Lahore. Then he realizes his mistake and marries the Hindu ayah, but now love has become powerless. Thus, a number of themes have been well integrated in the narrative of the Ice Candy Man. Thank you, and thanks for watching.